What's up, YouTube? My name is Spenser Davis. I'm with Saturday Road. That is Derek Peterson with Saturday Out West. We're going to talk about Oregon today. Very interesting team. Pretty interesting schedule. Lots of interesting names on here. Not the least of which is Georgia. Have you ever heard of them? In Week 1, in a neutral site game, quote unquote, that is going to be played in Atlanta. Derek, I guess let's start with this. Does Oregon have do we know who's going to be starting at quarterback for Oregon in that Georgia game?
It's most likely going to be Bo Nix. And that was kind of the main takeaway after their spring game. Auburn transferred 3 years of starting experience in the SEC. First of all, what a welcome to the head coaching profession for Dan Lanning. Not only does he get to play an elite team in its backyard, he gets to play the defense that he just worked tirelessly to construct. Yeah, they lost a ton of pieces, but Georgia, breaking news here, Georgia recruits pretty well, and Dan Lanning was a part of that. They still have Jordan Davis, right? No. Who's the kid? What's the kid's name? The defensive tackle, 88. Something, I'm blanking on his name. Jordan Davis left. They got the defensive tackle, 88, who was the best player in their defense last year. And for some reason, I think he's the best player and can't remember his name. They're going to have a really good defense. This is off the rails already.
Do
welcome.
You think Dan Lanning called the AD and pulled a Scott Frost and was like, "Hey, can we get this game off the schedule?"
Because I think Dan Lanning is competitive. No, that didn't happen. Dan Lanning, I don't think he's scared of anyone.
No, of course he didn't do that. Of course
we just want to make a joke about the last team that I covered.
Which to poke fun at Nebraska whenever
actually
possible.
happened. But hey, there's a Scott Frost tie here with it being Oregon. So good job.
Sure.
It's on topic. I think to get back to your question, they've got Ty Thompson. They've got Jay Butterfield, who I was really impressed with Jay Butterfield in their spring game. But he's definitely number 3. Ty Thompson is he's the highest profile quarterback that they have signed in the 247 era. He is a guy with a outsized amount of expectations. Everybody's very, very excited to watch him play. He sat as a backup last year. If you go with Ty Thompson, it's just a situation where you're going to be living through some growing pains. He's a young quarterback. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be some brain farts. There's going to be sort of an adjustment period for him. Having to start with Georgia and BYU in your first 3 weeks is not conducive to breaking in a young quarterback, no matter how talented he is, especially if you think that you're a team that can compete for a Pac-12 title and potentially make noise in the college football playoff, which I think Oregon thinks it can do, because I am very, very high on Oregon's defense. I think they're going to have one of the most impressive defenses, if not in the Pac-12, in the country.
Let's break down the schedule. So okay. I like to look at, try to find some automatic wins, right? Try to find some, find whatever the floor is for what this team is considering their schedule. I only see 3 automatic wins on the schedule, which is a pretty low number for a team like Oregon that, FPI has it basically 8.5 wins projected for the year.
Yeah.
Those auto wins are Eastern Washington, Arizona, and Colorado. Everything else, I think, is either, a probable win, which is still, not necessarily something you can take to the bank, but games they should win, or just a straight up toss up, or in the case of Georgia, you pretty much don't have you've got a prayer and that's it, right? Does that sound about right to you? For probable wins, I have categorized it as at Washington State versus Stanford, at Cal, and at Oregon State. Does that sound about right?
I think they miss Arizona State and they miss USC from the Pac-12 South. Missing USC is good. Missing Arizona State, that would have been a gimme win for them. Stanford, early in the season, we'll see. If I feel I tend to lean more toward, a gimme as opposed to a probable. They should win that game. Washington State and Pullman. I really like Washington State. I really like Oregon State as well. I think that game's going to be very interesting. It's in Corvallis. Um, I don't. That one it could be. I don't know. It's coming off of the Utah game. We'll see what Oregon looks like after that Utah game.
Yeah.
If just based on the way the two meetings with the Utes went last year, I'm expecting a really good atmosphere for that game, November 19th in Eugene. I think Oregon will come ready to play. We'll see what happens. If they beat Utah, then they're having a kind of special season in Dan Lanning's first year, and you feel better, significantly better about playing Oregon State. I would probably put Cal as a gimme. I just think they're going to be able to overwhelm Cal. It remains to be seen if a Justin Wilcox team can have a competent offense, and I think they'll be able to overwhelm that offense. UCLA is the most interesting game on the schedule.
Yeah. Is that a win?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but I like UCLA. I think it's going to be a fun game. Like the other one would be Washington. I just don't know. Washington is the hardest to read team in the country. I don't know what they're going to be. They have a history of being, of turning out excellent cornerbacks and defensive backs, but their defense got run over last year. They've got a new quarterback. The guy that they brought in doesn't look like he's going to be the starter. They've got a new coaching staff, and Oregon continues to just little brother that team. Like, Oregon could get to 10 or 11 wins with this schedule. It all depends on what happens with Utah and UCLA.
Okay, so Georgia, I think we're going to say is a loss.
Yeah.
BYU at home?
Yeah, I think they'll win that game.
Okay.
It'll be fun, but I think they win that game.
UCLA, you're saying is a win?
I think so. Yeah, FPI has that as 4.4 points in favor of the Ducks. I think that could be a 5, 6, 7 point game. Yeah.
Washington
will be a win.
Okay, and Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should go into that Utah game with one loss. Like, I think this team is good enough to go into that Utah game with one loss, and that one loss being maybe they have two, maybe they slip up somewhere, somebody catches them. But I'm really high on Utah, but I also just watch Dan Lanning coach defenses. I've looked at I think Oregon has the best off-ball linebacker in the country in Noah Sewell. I think DJ Johnson looks like a monster at that kind of edge rusher outside linebacker spot. They've got a guy on the defensive line in Brandon Dorlus that I really like. We'll see kind of what happens with their secondary. They got some pieces to replace, but I'm just really high on the Oregon defense. And I think that Utah game is going to be such a tremendous battle. It should be kind of like a statement piece for the Pac-12 conference as a whole. Look at these two great teams that we have kind of duking it out. And if they win that game, I mean, they're in position to probably make the college football playoff or have a case for it, depending on what happens in the last two games that they would play after.
So FPI has them at 8.5 wins. I'm going to set the total at 9.5. Are you going over or under?
I'm comfortably over at 8.5. I'm over at 9.5. Just not as comfortable.
This situation is screaming 9-3 to me. I just think that Georgia is a loss, and then BYU and UCLA probably are going to split those, and then I think they're probably going to slip up somewhere else. And Utah, of course, is obviously going to be another really tough game, even though it's at home. So
it's about what kind of Bo Nix do you get? If Bo Nix is the guy, what kind of Bo Nix do you get? He looked better in his last year at Auburn before he got hurt. There was definite. He wasn't as good his second year at Auburn as he was his first year. His first year as a freshman, he beat Oregon with a pretty nice drive at the end of the game. And that first year, he had Kenny Dillingham as his offensive coordinator, who is now his offensive coordinator at Oregon. And that kind of familiarity piece, I think, works in Nix's favor in the quarterback competition as well. But he should, if he can get the ball out where it needs to go and limit the just the poor decisions that he has a tendency of making and throwing the ball into places that he shouldn't throw it. They've got plenty of skilled talent, and I think they're going to have an excellent offensive line. They've got everybody back. I value continuity on the offensive line super highly. So like, I think they're going to have a really good defense. I think they're going to have a high floor. So it just comes down to what kind of Bo Nix are you getting? Are you getting 2020 Bo Nix? Or are you getting, late 2021 where he was starting to play a lot better? And, they're going to have a vertical passing game. So we'll see what happens with that offense.
I think that's a great way to sum it up and a great way to end this video. We appreciate you guys for sticking with us. You guys have a great rest of your day.